Remember the TV show Lost? It ran from 2004 to 2010. It was a cultural phenomenon. It created a really great mystery over those 6 years. So many weird things happening that were really compelling. And the producers kept building and building the mystery, only for the last season to be a substantial letdown, where the payoff was the definition of anticlimactic. Even the producers said, we're not going to be able to answer all your questions because we won't have time. Well, the producers of Weapons didn't come out and say they weren't going to explain everything after building up this great mystery, but that's sure how I felt when I watched this movie. The movie stars the Silver Surfer and Thanos, also known as Julie Garner, and Josh Brolin. Han Solo, also known as Alden Ehrenreich, he appears, as does Benedict Wong of Doctor Strange and the Avengers fame. So that makes this one of the most non-MCU movies ever. It also stars Amy Madigan, Austin Abrams, and the debut of Cary Christopher. This film is directed by Creggar, who also did Barbarian, which was another very well-received film. This is his second film, I believe. And what I like about this film is that it has a fresh vibe to it, an auteur type of feel, similar to what Jordan Peele accomplished with Get Out, or what Ryan Coogler did to some degree with Sinners. In other words, looking at this, you feel like you're watching something from a dedicated, committed filmmaker who wants to surround you with tons of atmosphere, most of it creepy, very creepy. He wants you to buy into the mystery that he creates, as well as he wants to present you with solid characters who are caught up in the mystery. And this film has one hell of a hook at the center of the mystery. At 2:17 a.m., 17 children from the same classroom, which is located in my state of Pennsylvania, which is kind of creepy, but 17 children from the same classroom run out of their homes at 2:17 in the morning and disappear into the night. Now tell me that doesn't make you want to say, what happens next? Well, what happens next is a very taut thriller. Not so much horror, although there are some mild jump scares, of which I'm not a fan, but they are kind of well motivated. The movie takes on kind of a Memento Pulp Fiction technique where we review events from multiple character perspectives and we see how the timeline of those events connect the characters. So Julie Garner is Justine Gandy, the school teacher whose classroom is left empty when all of the children run out of their homes at night. Well, all except for one kid named Alex, played by an amazing Cary Christopher. Justine becomes a pariah in the community. Her life is threatened. People suspect that she had something to do with the kids' disappearance because it was only the kids in her classroom that disappeared. And she starts to struggle with demons from her past as a result. Against school policy, she tries to make contact with Alex, I assume to try to understand what he may know about the mystery. Josh Brolin plays Arthur Graff, the father of one of the missing children. His character was one of my favorites. He alternates subtly between being a ramrod, being a straight ahead, I want to solve this mystery type of guy, demanding that the police do their jobs. He harasses Justine, but he's also very vulnerable and broken as a result of the loss of his son, to the point where his marriage is on the rocks because he sleeps in his son's bed, racked with guilt. Alden Ehrenreich plays Paul Morgan, Justine's ex-boyfriend who was remarried. He has an encounter with James, a junkie played by Austin Abrams. And although these two contribute somewhat to the main plot, their contribution seems to be more comic and tension relief. And it does work pretty well. Austin Abrams is definitely the comic element because he has some very funny moments in the movie with Ehrenreich and Brolin. I mean, laugh out loud moments. Benedict Wong plays the school principal, and he has a couple of really horrific scenes where one could definitely categorize this at a certain point as a horror film. Because up until a certain point, roughly at the beginning of the third act, the movie plays like a taut, character-driven drama thriller. Then in comes Amy Madigan, who plays Aunt Gladys. I will say very little about her other than the fact that her makeup looks like it was applied by the Joker, because saying too much about her will lead into spoilers. But I'll just say Madigan, whom I personally don't think I've seen her in anything since Field of Dreams back from 1989, is excellent and creepy as She shares the screen with Cary Christopher, the kid, Alex, the one kid who didn't disappear from the classroom. They share screen time quite a bit in the latter part of the second act and most of the time in the third act, and their scenes together are just creepy as hell. Things that Alex is made to do are creepy and unsettling. I will never look at a can of Campbell's soup the same way ever again. What makes this movie engaging is that mainly in the first two acts, we get to know all of the characters, all of whom are brilliantly portrayed by the actors. Everyone does a great job. Creggar reveals a mastery at setting a mood and atmosphere that will creep you out, keep you on edge. There's one scene, it's a subtle scene, but it just creeped me out. It's a scene where we see an empty suburban street in the middle of the night, and the camera holds for some time on that image, which was terrifying, at least for me, because I knew what was going to happen. And when you start to see these little shapes, and because you know they're coming, and it's just, when are we going to see them? Don't hold me in suspense. But you see these little shapes, these little silhouettes of kids in the dark with their arms held out, real creepy, running towards the camera. I mean, my heart was in my throat. The pacing up front in this movie might be off-putting to some, but I'm always willing to go along with a slow burn build if everything has been set up properly, like the characters, their motivations, the scenario. And with this movie, it's interesting to see how the lead characters all intersect, because we see the same actions take place at the same time, but we get different perspectives as we view these perspectives through the different characters. The third act, however, was a bit of a letdown for me. Well, let me be more specific. The third act was great, don't get me wrong, but the letdown for me is going back to what I kind of said about the TV show Lost. I just felt like the actual ending left me thinking, I need to know more. When the screen went to black, I was like, no way, what? They better not put up credits. What? Oh, hell no. Now, let me explain. Some people have said the last act of this film becomes pure comedy, and they are correct. I won't reveal anything. Put it this way, it's terrifying comedy. It's horror, but it's still funny. I won't reveal anything, but I will say, even though the tone totally changes, there's still some scary stuff going on. But it's more like Zach Creggar handed the camera over to Sam Raimi. And Sam was like, you know what? I think I'll do something like I did in my movies Drag Me to Hell or Army of Darkness. I mean, the camera just goes insane. The action is insane. It's funny, but it's horrible. But you're going to laugh when you see what you see because it's played, it's shot, I think, in a comedy style. And I heard in another review that Zach Creggar, his history or his background is in comedy. And it really comes off in this last act. This last act may be very polarizing for a lot of people. I mean, I was laughing out loud at certain points. I'll just say that Josh Brolin and Austin Abrams, the junkie, they have an interaction in this last act that had me dying. The whole theater was breaking up at one point. So I didn't mind the change in tone. It was welcome. What I didn't like is I felt like the movie ends before I get a satisfying explanation of one of the characters, whom I won't mention because it would be too much of a spoiler. I think just mentioning which character I'm talking about would ruin it for you, so I won't. All the lead characters get some exposition as we bounce between their POVs. We see things happening through their point of view, the same thing that each of them see. Except for this one character whose backstory I think would have been the most intriguing and would have explained a lot of things that I saw as being gaping inconsistencies in this movie. I mentioned Lost at the beginning of this review, how the show creates great mystery, but there was very little reveal at the end. That's what I felt at the end of this movie. Now, my people, my mans and them, are getting at me online talking about, hey, Q, were you even paying attention during the movie? And my response is, hell yes, I was paying attention. This is one movie where my geriatric old ass did not have to get up to go take a piss during the entire 2 hours. So yes, I was paying attention. And even though my guys are telling me they got it, they picked up on clues, they kept saying to me, well, Q, you can presume that this happens or this is the reason. Now, I don't like a lot of exposition myself, But the basic shit, yeah, I need some clear delineation. I don't feel like I should have to presume anything. That's what the screenwriters are paid for. Again, I don't need everything spelled out to me. Give me a 5-second scene that if I catch it, I'm good. Even maybe you might want to reconsider the title of this movie so that it's not so unclear what I should expect. I said it. And I felt like I didn't get that delineation, that exposition that I thought was necessary, or those little reveals that would have helped me out, and that some of the intriguing mystery that presented itself leading up to the third act, because I wasn't really clear about what some of the character motivations were or some of the things that I saw, some of that mystery that was built up like the show Lost, it came off as kind of just smoke and mirrors. So I'm torn on my rating for this movie. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to do a little bit of a cop-out. I'm giving this movie 3 out of 5 reels. 3 reels for me is good. And I'm giving it that for the superb acting. I mean, why isn't Josh Brolin a bigger star? I've liked him in everything he's done. So 3 reels for the clever way it bounces between the characters' perspectives, the great acting, for the ambiance, the mood it creates, and for the balls for going all out at the end and making it into kind of like a Sam Raimi comedy. But I'm yanking back a half a reel simply for not giving me more info or more clear-cut info on a pivotal character, which I would have liked to have seen or learned more about. 3 reels for one aspect, 2.5 reels for this last aspect that I just mentioned. Be that as it may, I do highly recommend you go see this movie. Another original IP that's fresh, unique, and it will stay with you long after you leave the theater. Matter of fact, I get a feeling this might be one of those films that we talk about for quite a while. We'll see it a couple times. I might go see it again just to see what I may have missed and pick up on some of those clues that my friends got that I didn't get, although I think I didn't miss anything. But I might need to see this movie again, just like I saw Memento a couple times. There's a couple other films, Inception, those type of films. I will put this film in terms of its shelf life, in terms of water cooler discussion. I will put it up with those caliber of movies. All right, guys, that's the Martini. Tell me what you think. Tell me if I am way off base or if I just completely missed some shit. All right. Either way, leave your comments, subscribe, like, and share this video, and I will see you around on the next one. Take care, guys.